Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about some of the questions that are surrounding Gotham Knights from the internet, and I opened the floor for people to be able to give their own opinions and even voice some concerns regarding the game. And so one of the really interesting comments that resurfaced, which I think it's one that many of you may have heard before, is regarding the character models for Gotham Knights. Now, I can sit here and tell you that the character models that we saw at that gameplay preview, to me, were not necessarily top notch. I think they were lacking, but I also have to quickly give you guys a disclaimer that whatever we got to see in that gameplay preview was actually preceded. There was a caveat that all gameplay footage that we were about to see was captured from a pre-alpha game build. So game builds work in the sense that they put the game together, they put together, kind of their prototypes, and then they flesh it out, they add some more aesthetics, they put some environmental elements and all that in there, and then once the game gets to a playable state that's representative of maybe the story or missions or gameplay mechanics that they want to tell, then they keep building from there. So the gameplay footage that we did see is unpolished, and they made sure that they mentioned this. So meaning that anything is subject to change in that entire gameplay sequence. And so once you kind of get, that concept as your lens that you're looking at it, then I think things make sense, and you kind of have to start saying, okay, am I wanting the character models to change because they haven't done the physics very well? Some of the things you're seeing here is visual effects with the snow, but the way the bike is moving, it doesn't seem to have a lot of suspension mechanics. It's just literally just driving and floating down one plane. If you remember Arkham Knight, the vehicle had a lot of physics mechanics that was actually with it. You felt that car actually driving whenever you were controlling it. I don't think if you're driving this bike with a controller or you're controlling this, you're going to really feel the physics. So this is something that perhaps when the game is released, they would have taken care of. And, look at that turn. With all that speed, she just literally turns, like this is like some arcade game or something. Look at that. Like, you see that? There's not even a lot of drift or whatever. So I understand that it's pre-alpha footage, and things like these are things that we can sit here and just, basically pick apart. Now, when you consider that, then you have to come in and say, okay, is the question necessarily the character models or the choice of aesthetics that are on the character models? Because to me, I feel like the character models in terms of Unreal Engine don't seem to be too complex. Batgirl's animations could be better, and I think those are some of the things that people may be looking at. And then her costume could also be better representative of the character that she is, and some of her more classic outfits that they could have used. So there are different variations as to the generic statement of character models that you can consider. But again, because of the way these changes are usually made down the road, you also have to kind of concede and say, okay, perhaps these things are going to be fleshed out and smoothened out, and by the time the game is released, we should be getting something better, because this is not their standard. Even they at Warner Brothers Games Montreal, this animation that we're seeing here is not necessarily their capabilities. If they actually want to go by their own history, you see a game like Batman Arkham Origins. If you look at this game, they already fleshed out a lot of the animations, even at the time that it came out, being all the way back in 2000, and I think it was 2011 or so. The game already had some really interesting and cool animations that were already meted out, and you could have a very interesting and fun time playing the game even till date. Yes, a little bit of some bugs or glitches here and there, but if you play on PC, the experience is so smooth and fun that you can tell that the animations here have already been cleaned up and already been smooth, because most of these animations admittedly seem like they were basically adapted from some of the other Arkham games. And by the way, if you didn't know, the developers and the creators actually did say that when they found out they were making this game, they reached out to Rocksteady, and Rocksteady hooked them up with a bunch of assets that they use. So that's why you're going to see that sometimes, even Deathstroke, he has some fight moves that are somewhat similar to Robin, but, because Warner Brothers Games Montreal, they were just really on, I don't know, steroids. They were able to modify stuff so well, you didn't really notice a lot of those similarities. So in the case of Gotham Knights, there has to be that place where we concede and say, we hope that they're able to go ahead and keep the quality that the team or that studio has a history of, because that team must have really changed a lot in the past few years. I mean, that creative director and even the studio producer are no longer there. In fact, one of the senior their gameplay designers is no longer there. He just recently moved to Unity, but at least they can understand that that quality is something that fans are expecting, and then they can start to represent that. And so when it comes to the costumes and the character aesthetics, I think they can really work on that. In terms of the animation, I think the animation is decent, but it could be better because the game is not necessarily only going to be judged from the perspective of Arkham Origins. It's also going to be judged from the lens of Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight being basically the creme de la creme of DC video games till date. And so that's where I think the developers probably need to take it to another level. And, perhaps the refining and the fine tuning is what's going on in the studio in conjunction with maybe future and further development down the road. And when we see the next preview, we might have something that is actually representative of what fans are asking for, because it's within their capabilities to do it if they have the talent available to actually do those things. And then you can look at other games, like say the Spider-Man 2018 game. If you look at one of its earlier trailers or previews around 2016, you'll see that they actually showed, I think it was a street chase and Spider-Man stopping a street chase. And that representative preview was not as good as what the finished game looks like in today's day and age. So that's something that we kind of have to keep our minds on and hope that these are the adjustments that they're making so far in terms of those little things. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that there's a lot more that cannot be done to this? Because I think with the 1 year and almost 2 year delay that we've gotten for this game so far, that all these changes are probably going to be reflected when the game comes out. Talk to you guys in another video. Appreciate you guys for watching this one. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Peace out.